Hey Raiders fans, what's going on? We're back with another video bringing you all the latest and hottest updates surrounding our Las Vegas Raiders. It's been a busy week, full of rumors, opinions, and wild takes flying around social media. And one story that just won't go away is the talk about Shiloh Sanders and his supposed interest in joining the Raiders. Now, before we go any further, let's get this out of the way. The idea of Shiloh Sanders wearing the silver and black just doesn't make any sense. Not now, not later, not ever. And I'm going to break down exactly why this whole narrative has zero logic behind it. So, for those who missed it, a clip popped up from Complex Con in Las Vegas over the weekend showing Shiloh Sanders saying he wants to become a member of the Las Vegas Raiders. And right after that video hit the internet, my messages started blowing up. Fans were tagging me, sending me DMs on Twitter and Instagram, all asking the same thing. Does it make sense for the Raiders to go out and get Shiloh Sanders? And the honest answer is absolutely not. I know it might sound harsh, but let's be real here. This move would make no football sense whatsoever. The Raiders have a ton of things to fix, but adding a player like Shiloh isn't one of them. First off, this isn't just about talent. It's about fit, production, and the direction of this organization. Shiloh Sanders hasn't proven himself to be an NFL-level player. He's been on practice squads, bounced around opportunities, and hasn't shown that he can contribute in a meaningful way. If Tampa Bay, an organization that has deep ties with some of the Raiders' current front office members, decided to move on from him, that says a lot. If he couldn't make that roster, what makes anyone think the Raiders, who are desperately trying to rebuild a disciplined and consistent defense, should give him a spot? You don't just add a player because of a last name or social media buzz. You add a player because he can help you win games. And Shiloh simply hasn't proven that. Now, yes, I get it. Safety is a position of need. We've all seen this secondary struggle week after week, and the lack of consistency in coverage has been frustrating. But going out and signing someone who's barely cracked an NFL roster isn't the solution. Bringing in Shiloh would do nothing to fix the real problems this defense faces. The Raiders need players who can make plays, who can tackle, who can step up in big moments. Shiloh isn't that guy. You can't justify giving a roster spot to someone who hasn't earned it just because he comes from a famous football family. And speaking of that famous family, that's where things get even more complicated. The Sanders family is always in the spotlight, from Coach Prime to Shatter and Shiloh, and that media attention follows them everywhere. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with building a brand or having confidence, but for the Raiders right now, that's not the kind of energy they need in the locker room. This team is trying to find an identity, trying to build chemistry, and the last thing they need is extra attention being drawn away from football and toward off-the-field distractions. Shiloh has developed a bit of a reputation. Stories from Big 12 media days have painted him as someone who can be difficult to work with, even disrespectful to media members. That's not the type of attitude this team needs while trying to rebuild its culture. And let's not forget, we've seen what happens when a team becomes a media circus. The Raiders have been through enough of that in recent years. The focus has to stay on football, on improvement, and on building towards something sustainable. You don't need players chasing clout or trying to stay relevant. And honestly, when you look at some of Shiloh's recent actions, from chasing celebrities for attention to dressing up as his brother, it just screams someone trying too hard to stay in the spotlight. That might work on social media, but it doesn't work in the NFL. It's about performance, preparation, and professionalism. And right now, Shiloh doesn't seem to check any of those boxes. Think about it this way. If the Raiders did decide to bring him in, what would that really accomplish? You'd have a player sitting at the bottom of the depth chart, barely contributing, but constantly pulling in media headlines. The Raiders don't need that. They need players who make an impact on Sundays, not ones who make noise on Twitter. And while we're being real here, let's also remember that this team already did their homework on both Sanders brothers during the offseason. If they didn't pull the trigger then, what makes anyone think that's going to change now? Look, I understand why fans get excited when they hear a big name like Sanders connected to their team. It's natural. It's easy to think, hey, maybe this could work, maybe it's worth a shot. But this isn't Madden, and this isn't a marketing stunt. The Raiders need to be focused on football, not fame. They have a 2-win team right now that's trying to claw its way back into competitiveness. And that means every roster spot matters. Every decision has to push this team closer to winning games. Bringing in Shiloh Sanders wouldn't do that. It would do the opposite. It would create unnecessary noise, extra media coverage, and more distractions for a team that's already struggling to find its footing. And that's the reality we have to face. The Raiders can't afford to make moves that don't make football sense. If you want to fix the secondary, go out and find a veteran safety who knows how to read offenses, someone who can communicate on the back end and help young players develop. Find a guy who can contribute right away, not someone who's been living off his family's name and trying to keep his relevance through viral clips. You can't build a winning team by assigning players for headlines. You build it by signing players who can make plays, who can earn respect in the locker room, and who bring consistency every single week. So when you look at everything together, the lack of production, the off-field distractions, the media noise, and the potential chemistry issues, it becomes crystal clear. Signing Shiloh Sanders to the Las Vegas Raiders would be one of the worst decisions this organization could make right now. It's not personal. It's just football. You want leaders, not influencers. You want competitors, not personalities. The silver and black deserve players who bleed for this team, not ones who just want to see their name trending on social media. And here's where things really start to make sense when you think about what the Raiders actually need versus what Shiloh Sanders would bring to the table. Right now, this team is sitting at a point in the season where every move, every adjustment, every player acquisition must directly impact winning football games. You cannot afford to waste time or energy on publicity stunts or unproven talents. This team already has enough pressure from fans, from the media, and from ownership. Adding another layer of noise for the sake of headlines would only make things worse. The Raiders need calm, leadership, and production, not another distraction. And it's not just about football skill, it's about attitude. When you hear stories about how Shiloh handled himself at Big 12 Media Days, brushing off reporters and acting as though he'd already made it to the NFL, that's a red flag. The Raiders are working hard to rebuild a locker room culture based on humility, accountability, and focus. Guys like Max Crosby, Divine Deablo, and Nate Hobbs have been vocal about effort and leadership. That's the tone this team is trying to set, not a group that thinks the spotlight is a reward before the work is done. The Sanders family already brings enormous media attention wherever they go. For Colorado, that spotlight worked because Deion Sanders is leading that program and knows how to handle it. But in the NFL, that's a whole different story. You can't control the kind of noise once it hits a pro locker room, especially one still trying to define its own identity. If you bring Shiloh to Las Vegas, you instantly invite the circus. Every practice, every media availability, every locker room quote becomes about the Sanders family. Suddenly, reporters are asking players about Deion, about Shatter, about family drama, and the focus shifts from the Raiders to the Sanders name. That's not fair to the players grinding every day to build something. It's not fair to a coach trying to earn credibility in front of a passionate, frustrated fan base. And let's be honest, it's not fair to the fans either, who just want to see their team win again. This organization has already gone through enough off-the-field headlines in recent years. The last thing it needs is more noise. Now, let's talk about the football fit one more time. If the Raiders truly wanted to take a flyer on a safety, it would have to be someone capable of competing for meaningful snaps, especially coming out of the bye week. You're not adding anyone just for depth. You're adding someone who can rotate in immediately, contribute on special teams, and possibly take over a starting role if injuries hit. Shiloh doesn't check those boxes. Lonnie Johnson Jr. is a better special teamer, a better tackler, and a better locker room presence. He already knows the system, already has connections with the coaching staff, and can be trusted in situational packages. Why would you risk team chemistry and performance for someone who isn't even guaranteed to make the 53-man roster? And even if you think about the bigger picture, let's say somehow the Raiders did sign Shiloh Sanders. What happens next? The moment he steps into the facility, speculation begins. Does this mean the team is thinking about Shatter Sanders in the future? Does this mean Deion could have a connection with the Raiders? It turns into a never-ending narrative that puts unnecessary pressure on people like Geno Smith, who's already under scrutiny for his play. You're adding tension that doesn't belong. Geno doesn't need to be compared to anyone or overshadowed by media hype around a college quarterback's brother. He needs support and stability, not another storyline that questions his leadership or future. The truth is, football teams thrive when the attention stays between the sidelines. The Raiders have been slowly trying to quiet the outside noise and rebuild respect around the league. Moves like bringing in Antonio Pierce, putting faith in young players, and emphasizing accountability are all part of that process. Signing Shiloh Sanders would undo some of that progress by making the team look more interested in headlines than in results. It would send the wrong message to veterans who've been grinding all season and to rookies who are learning what professionalism means in this league. At the end of the day, Shiloh Sanders might be entertaining. He might bring energy and personality. But none of that replaces talent, discipline, or production. The Raiders can't build a foundation based on flash. They need substance. They need players who show up every day ready to work, to improve, and to represent the silver and black with pride. Players who understand what it means to earn the logo on their helmet. Shiloh's reputation right now isn't about hard work or consistency. It's about social media moments, viral sound bites, and chasing fame. That doesn't win football games. This fan base deserves better. They've stuck with this team through chaos, heartbreak, and disappointment. They deserve a group of players who care more about winning than trending. Every move this organization makes has to serve one goal: getting back to relevance through victories, not through noise. The next player who joins the Raiders needs to fit the identity of toughness, discipline, and respect. They need to earn the silver and black, not use it for a headline. That's why, no matter how many times Shiloh Sanders says he wants to be a Raider, the answer should stay the same: no. Because this team doesn't need attention seekers. It needs winners. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The NFL rumor mill is buzzing, and fans are already on edge with excitement. TYREEK Hill, the league's speedster extraordinaire, has reportedly been announced as the newest weapon in the Las Vegas Raiders arsenal. While the team hasn't confirmed every detail, sources close to the organization suggest Hill's arrival could immediately transform the Raiders' offensive dynamics. Known as Cheetah for a reason, Hill's breakneck speed has terrorized defensive backs across the league for years. If the whispers are true, the Raiders might finally have the deep threat weapon they've been craving. Someone capable of turning a routine play into a game-changing moment in the blink of an eye. Speculation is already rife about how the team plans to integrate him into their schemes. Will the Raiders lean into a vertical attack to stretch defenses? Could Hill's presence open up the field for other receivers and the running game? Analysts and fans alike are scrambling to imagine the possibilities. Insiders hint that Hill's signing isn't just about raw speed. It's a strategic statement. The Raiders could be signaling that they're serious about competing at the highest level, ready to challenge division rivals with a high-octane offense. The mere thought of a quarterback launching deep passes to Hill, who can outrun any coverage, is enough to get the silver and black faithful dreaming of highlight reel touchdowns every Sunday. Of course, rumors like these often swirl faster than a punt return, and nothing is set in stone yet. But the excitement is palpable. Social media is already ablaze with mock highlights, fan reactions, and speculation about what this could mean for the Raiders' playoff chances. One thing is clear. If TYREEK Hill truly dons silver and black, the NFL's fastest man will bring a level of explosiveness that could redefine Las Vegas offense almost overnight. And even if the deal is still in flux, the buzz has already achieved something remarkable. It has the city, the fans, and the league talking about the Raiders in a way they haven't in years. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.